Lulu's friends! Today, Lulu will be reading you another bedtime story. So today's story is about Penny and the giant poodle surprise. So, everyone, let's get into the story. All ears!
Lulu the Storyteller.
Once upon a time, in a cozy little town, lived a girl named Penny. Penny loved animals more than anything, and for her birthday, she received a fluffy, playful toy poodle puppy. She named him Pip. Pip was the tiniest, most adorable dog Penny had ever seen, with soft, curly fur and eyes that sparkled like shiny buttons. For the moment Penny met Pip, they were inseparable. They went on walks in the park, played fetch in the backyard, and snuggled up together every night. Pip was small enough to fit in Penny's arms, where she carried him everywhere she wanted. One sunny afternoon, something very, very strange happened. Penny was playing with Pip in the backyard when she noticed Pip staring curiously at an old shimmering rock near the flower. It looked like no ordinary rock. It glowed faintly, and when Pip sniffed it, he let out a tiny sneeze. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble beneath them. Oh my god. Penny looked down at Pip, and her eyes widened in shock. Right before her eyes, Pip began to grow. First, he grew into the size of a large dog. Then he kept growing and growing until he was as big as a car. Penny's jaw dropped as Pip continued to grow until he was as tall as the house. Pip! Penny gasped, staring at her giant puppy. His tail wagged, sending a gust of wind that almost knocked her over. Despite his size, Pip was still the same playful pup, just enormous. Penny ran to Pip's side and tried to figure out what had happened. She remembered the strange, glowing rock that Pip had seen. It must have been something to do with that magic rock, Penny thought. She looked up at Pip, who was now towering over the garden, trying to chase butterflies that looked like tiny specks next to him. At first, it seemed fun to have a giant dog. Pip could reach the tallest trees with ease, and could give Penny rides on his back across the town, but soon, things started to get a little tricky. Pip's giant tail accidentally knocked over the mailbox, and when he tried to drink water from his bowl, he flooded the whole entire kitchen. Penny knew she had to figure out how to shrink Pip back to his size. She thought back to the glowing rock and realized it must have been magical. But what could reverse its spell? She decided to visit Mrs. Myrtle, a wise old woman who lived in the town. Mrs. Myrtle had a reputation for knowing all sorts of mysterious things. Penny hurried to her house, with Pip slowly following behind, causing a few surprised looks from the neighbors. When Penny arrived, she told Mrs. Myrtle everything. Mrs. Myrtle smiled and nodded. Ah, yes, that rock is from the Enchanted Forest, a place where magical things grow. Pip must have sniffed some of the magic dust, which make him glow so large. But how do I make him smile again? Penny asked worriedly. Mrs. Myrtle chuckled softly. The magic will wear off if there's something that makes him truly happy. Sometimes all you need is a little joy to reverse the spell. Penny thought hard. What made Pip the happiest? Then it hit her. His favorite thing in the whole entire world was snuggling up with Penny. So Penny returned home with Pip, who was still gigantic. She climbed onto his back and gave him a big hug. Come here, Pip, let's snuggle like we always used to. Pip, as huge as he was, carefully curled up next to Penny. The moment Penny wrapped her arms around him, something magical happened. Pip began to shrink, slowly at first, then faster and faster until he was back as his tiny, normal toy poodle ever again. Pip squealed with joy and hugged Pip tightly. You're back normal, she laughed. Pip barked happily, his tail wagging furiously. From that day on, Penny made sure to keep Pip away from strange rocks in the garden. And though Pip never grew giant again, they both know that no matter what size he was, there will be love for each other and it will always be huge. The end. Thank you, Lulu's friends, for listening to this bedtime story again. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So good night and sweet dreams. Bye!
Good night and sweet dreams.